Studtis Poort is exceptionally scenic and typical of all poorts. The gradients are very easy as the road essentially remains next to the river for most of its length. You'll be treated to towering mountains with near vertical cliffs and dense riverine vegetation. If you're able to comfortably clear the first river crossing, all of the other 8 crossings should be okay, as it's the same river and will have roughly the same amount of depth and current. This poort on the R332 between Willowmore and Potensie links the two halves of the western section of the Baviaanskloof, covering 6.4 kilometers and crossing the Baviaans River 9 times. In dry weather conditions, most of the main roads in the western Baviaanskloof can be driven in a normal car. Poorts are different to passes in that they usually have very gentle gradients. One of the downsides of this fact is that water tends to remain in a poort much longer than on a pass, and as a consequence, Studtis Poort is often prone to some deep water crossings after periods of rainfall. The little settlement on the eastern side of the poort, after which the poort is named, is the perfect base from which to explore the area. The original police station and its cells, as well as the old tobacco drying shed, can be found on the Studtis Olive Estate. The new Studtis police station holds at least 2 national records. It has the largest geographical area of control in South Africa, and to counterpoint that, it has the lowest crime rate. With its rich biodiversity, this poort boasts everything a nature-loving adventurer could possibly want, with its wild beauty, rugged terrain, endless tranquility, and an array of exciting activities such as rock climbing, kloofing, hiking, camping and challenging 4x4 routes. Small portions of the Baviaanskloof have been given over to the farming of oranges, potatoes, wheat, tobacco and lucerne, as well as wild game and cattle. The traverse of this poort includes 9 crossings of the Baviaans River. Each crossing is slightly different, and it's important to treat each crossing as an individual obstacle. Some of the drifts have been concreted and some are in the form of low-level bridges, whilst others have a stony bottom. If the river is coming down in spate, drivers should always exercise due care. At the end of the poort there's a fork where you should keep left. A few hundred meters later you'll see a small trading store called Babe's Winkel. This is a must-stop venue where you'll be transported back in time to the heady days of the old trading stations, as they were called then, where you can buy everything from a zinc tub and gumboots to flour and fresh bread. There's also a small tea room attached to the store where light meals can be ordered. On the opposite side of the road is the access point to the Studtis Olive Farm and the 4-star Kamerkloof guest house. A few kilometers further east is the Doornkloof Farm, which offers camping and a small set of self-catering cottages, and at the end of the western end of the Baviaanskloof there is the Sandvlakte guest farm. Kamerkloof was part of one of the first farms to be registered in the kloof in 1817. Farmers reached the kloof by means of a handmade ox wagon trail from the western side of the kloof. Between 1880 and 1890, Thomas Bain built the Nieuwekloof Pass, giving entry to this unique gem. European settlement in the Baviaanskloof region commenced in the mid to late 18th century, leading to the marginalization of the Khoisan and the loss of their traditional way of life. The new settlers started shaping the landscape by hunting down to extinction most of the indigenous animals and replacing game with domestic livestock, and by cultivating the arable land. On the day of filming this poort, we were most surprised to come across a police roadblock in the middle of the week. This was a routine stop manned by courteous officers checking for driver's licenses and registration documents. Current inhabitants in the kloof are from various different cultures, mainly Afrikaans, Xhosa, Cape Coloured and Khoisan descendants. The main economic activities are agriculturally related, being crops and deciduous trees and livestock. A new growing industry, of course, is tourism. The rugged terrain and the isolation of the valley from the marketplace were major constraints and a challenge for the early farmers in the kloof. People living in the area suffer from the impacts of periodic natural events such as floods and droughts. Geographically, the Baviaanskloof is the valley running east to west between the Baviaanskloof Mountains in the north and the Kouga Mountains in the south in South Africa's Eastern Cape Province. In conservation terms, it's the Baviaanskloof Mega Reserve, a wilderness area which includes half of the valley and huge tracts of land besides. Because of its amazing biodiversity, it has UNESCO World Heritage Site status. To others, it's simply an incredible scenic trip of immense contrasts, ranging from the lush fertility of the Hamtruis River Valley through the rugged Poort's passes and mountains to the stark beauty of the plains approaching Willowmore. Along the road, bottomland savanna or valley bushveld with its sweet thorn trees is seen, but beyond it, much of the veld to the left of the road is either renosterveld or passerina veld, both composed of a mixture of fynbos and succulent karoo plants. The Poort ends at this fork at the 6.4 kilometer mark.